Welcome back to War of the Lesbian Zombies. In the last scene at Max's diner, Brenda defended an abused waitress, Lily, and invited her to join the sisterhood.
Brenda looked out the window at the trees racing by. The sisters were headed back to their home, the ranch, a massive estate and mansion that Jackie's skin cream business built one jar at a time. It sat on eastern Long Island, far from the hustle and bustle of the Big Apple, overlooking the Sound and her private beach beyond Inlet Point. As snow began to fall, Brenda brought up the subject of Lily. "What do you think the waitress will do?" Jackie glanced at her. "She'll stay with the jerk. How about you, Monica? Is there any hope for her?" "No. Maybe we should open a shelter for battered women. It would give more credence to our LZ Foundation." "Jackie, you have a point, but that'd be like putting a Band-Aid on a jugular vein. Women don't need to be sheltered. They need to be empowered." "Shit, look at the snow coming down." "Go a little slower, Jackie. We're not in a big rush." "I'm pissed about what Max might do to Lily in retaliation for you pummeling him, Brenda. You just couldn't let it go, could you?" "It's not in my nature to turn away from an abused woman." A ringing cell phone reverberated from somewhere in the car. Brenda looked around. "Whose cell is that? Not mine. It must be yours, Monica." "My stomach is grumbling so loud I did not hear it." "Mine too. We never got a bite to eat thanks to Brenda." Monica checked her now silent phone. Missed call. It was Maria. "Call her back. Hopefully this snow didn't cause Jorge to run off the road." Monica speed dialed Maria. "What do you want?" "Jorge drove 90 miles an hour with his right hand in his pants. Caroline saw him. Put him on." "Sure. Jorge, Monica wants to talk to you." "Let me talk to him." Monica passed Jackie the phone. "Hello, Miss Monica. Listen up, Jorge. It's me, your boss, Jackie." "Yes, ma'am." "If you ever play with yourself around Caroline again, I will cut it off so short you'll need to sit down to pee. Got that?" "I'm sorry, Jackie. I can't stop. Not since Brenda and the girls gave me that massage at the pool. Was there something in your skin cream that turned me into a sex fiend?" "Of course not, Jorge. But we've got a pill for that. Ask Chloe for it. Take one and call me in the morning." "Yes, ma'am." The Mercedes arrived at the ranch 30 minutes later. The snowstorm had turned to a driving rainstorm along the coast. The sisters walked into the living room to find the place was as quiet as a tomb. Their sisters were all sound asleep. Monica whispered, "Good night, ladies," and headed to her room. On the way to their bedroom, Jackie and Brenda stopped to check on Caroline. They found her sound asleep with Girly Dog lying on the bed at her feet. A crash of thunder awakened Brenda. The alarm clock read 3 a.m. Lightning flashed beyond the window, followed by more thunder. She got up and stepped to the sash to see how much havoc the storm was raising. Rain beat down on the crystal shrine to Loa, which they'd built in Jackie's greenhouse. Another bolt of lightning lit up the crystalline panels and revealed a figure moving about inside. A burglar? In this weather? At this time of night? Brenda decided to investigate. She grabbed an umbrella and rushed outside. The wind whipped at her gown as she ran toward the door. After a quick breath, she quietly entered the shrine. The rain made a racket on the crystalline panels that made up the walls and ceiling. Outreaching leafy branches of the sister tree of life took up most of the interior. The pit of ages and its golden perimeter railing sat in the center of the floor. No one lurked about, and nothing seemed out of order. The golden floor tiles were dry and free of footprints. Whatever she'd seen must have been a trick of lightning and shadows. As she turned to leave, vines slithered up from the pit and quickly looped around Brenda's leg. "Loa?" The vines wrapped around her entire body. She tore at the vines, trying to free herself, but her superior strength was no match for Loa's power on earth. "Goddess, I pray, why have you summoned me?" The vines dragged her toward the pit. Remembering Jenny and how the vines had dragged her to her death, Brenda grabbed the golden rails and hung on tight with all her might. "Goddess, I pray, what have I done to displease you?" She wasn't strong enough to stop the vines from pulling her down to the floor of the pit, where the roots of the sister tree of life joined the vines' deadly embrace. "Please, Goddess, I pray, whatever I've done, it was out of ignorance, not out of disrespect. Please, Loa, Goddess of all, have pity on me." The vines and roots released her and formed an arch over her head. Brenda, still shaken, peered into the arch, which formed a black tunnel that looked as if it had no end. "No way am I going in there." She turned her back to the arch and reached up to take hold of root stubs to climb up to the railing. "Wait, Brenda." The ethereal voice froze her in mid-climb. With her heart racing, she dropped down and slowly turned around to look straight into the translucent face of the goddess Loa, Lord of all. Her blonde hair floated around her face as if in zero gravity, and her eyes glinted with sparks of starlight. If she was a ghost, she was the most beautiful ghost in the universe. Brenda staggered backwards until her back pressed against the pit wall. Her body felt suddenly cold, and she began to shiver, a very unusual reaction for a lesbian zombie. "Fear not." Loa's voice resonated as if the air in the pit had spoken. "I am not going to harm you." "What do you want from me, my goddess?" "You are to do my bidding on earth. I have been waiting for you since the beginning of time. You are my chosen one. You have a pure heart." "I live to serve you, my goddess." "My heart is heavy, Brenda. I have suffered with all the women who have lived and died over the centuries. Men ran the world, and women served men. Civilization has progressed some over time, but there are still many places where women are being dominated and slaughtered by men. Subservience to these men must be crushed once and for all." "What would you have me do?" "Soon you will learn a very sad tale. A girl will come to you, right here in my shrine, and she will make a request of you that you will not deny." "Me? Why me?" "I trust you over all men. They are flawed because they were created in the image of the male gods who had the same flaws. Women do not have these flaws, but because of mistakes made as far back as the Garden of Eden, men took dominance over women who were not perfect until you were reborn." "Oh dear, I'm far from perfect." "The male gods are gone, but their evil thoughts still resound off the walls of the universe. These thoughts are sexual and denied to some women who are made to cover their bodies that other men may not admire them. You must use men's impulses to your advantage. Be provocative, be strong, but never let your guard down." Brenda stood before Loa in amazement. "My sisters make love to each other, but with men it's only sex for the sisterhood's foundation." "Yes, men may confuse the emotions of your lesbian sisters unless I deem otherwise. As you will see in a sister you have yet to meet." "Be assured all my sisters are loyal to you." "As is Cassandra, the voodoo high priestess who brought you to me. she will be on my right hand very soon.
What are you telling me?
You will be summoned to Haiti for a funeral.
No, please, not Cassandra.
Join your sisters, for the sun will rise on a new era of war. I will come to you in your mind when I need you.
Brenda watched spellbound as a radiant light surrounded Loa until she could no longer be seen in the brilliance. The light grew smaller and smaller as it flew into the black tunnel, and then it was gone. The arched vines, entwined with the roots on the floor, all settled into a peaceful stillness. A warm sense of pride replaced the chill of Brenda's first encounter with Loa in this new life she'd been given, which now had purpose and meaning. Somewhere women will be freed from men's brutal dominance, but it all starts with one girl. As she started to climb up the dirt wall, she stepped with her bare foot on what she thought was a rock. Looking down, she realized that she had put her foot on Jenny's skull, its eye socket staring upward, the jaw cocked open as if emitting an eternal scream. The terror on her face that Black Friday night when the vines had dragged her into the pit was still evidence in her bony expression. Such was the price for betraying Loa. The shiver returned. Brenda climbed up to the gold-tiled floor of the shrine's throne room, retrieved her umbrella, and walked outside. She looked toward the east and saw in the morning light a physically impossible rainbow. With gladness in her heart, she knew that the women of the world had a true ally in Loa.
Wow, Loa's not only beautiful, she's smart, and she has a plan for Brenda and the sisterhood. It's got something to do with that girl who's coming to visit. I wonder what that's all about. Please join us for episode 4, where we meet General Taylor and Senator Hoffman. One is an ally, the other a traitor to the sisterhood.